Welcome to the Microdosing for Healing podcast. I'm your host, Casey Garrett, and together we'll be discovering and learning from inspiring voices of healers, medicine keepers, and visionaries. Every episode, we'll explore the world of health, vibrant wellness, and natural medicine for a new era of human society. Welcome to today's episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast, and thank you for being here. So today I wanted to bring you an episode that is inspired by our microdosing community. They inspire a lot, and this is no exception. So a few months ago, someone had prompted the question, how do we move through this time? You know, we all know it's going to be a really intense next few months in the United States. It's election season. It's always fraught, you know, the voices and noise on social media and the news media is getting louder and louder. And how do we move through this time and practice with the medicine during these months and years? So I had shared with them some guidance that I wanted to bring forth today. Those of you who have worked with me before know that I have a very close relationship with my spiritual guide and mentor who is not on this plane. And she has shared with me much guidance around this area. So if you've worked with me in our community, you are very familiar with her and her voice and some of her wisdom and guidance. But I wanted to share it today for the podcast and for a larger audience in the hope that it will be supportive for you to hold this very broad perspective as we move through the next months. Really, what I want to share is what she has shared with me about the changing nature of humanity. So some nice, light, easy fare for your day. So one of the fundamental things that she has shared with me that on its face has been very jarring to both myself and others that I've shared it with is that we are moving further and further into individuation. Now you hear that and you go, how can that be? We're pretty individual already. Like, is it really possible for human beings to get more selfish than they already are? Kind of, yes and no. But let me explain. So where we have been in all of our lifetimes has been a time in humanity where we are connected to each other through our tribes, through our institutions, through our affiliations. And we are moving from this time of fitting into boxes, following authorities, following a single leader, to a time of sovereignty, a time of individuation, where it's people coming into themselves and rather trying to adapt to external conditioning and norms. We're moving into a time of really tapping back into our individual gifts, our individual purpose. And therefore, while on its face, it sounds like we may be becoming more individuated and we have a connotation of selfishness to that, in reality, it's only when we are truly in our genius, in our alignment, doing our thing that we were meant to do, can we really be in relationship with another. Right? To be a good partner, you have to be comfortable and confident in your own skin, doing your thing, joyful, vibrant. And when you meet another person or an organization that is also doing that thing, that's when we can partner. That's when we can collaborate. Right now, all of our relationships have been built largely upon institutions determining them, geography determining them, job and workplace structures determining them. Again, it's very tribal in nature. It's not based on our soul self. So most of us have been conditioned to be around people who we were connected to through an institution, not necessarily that we were soul or spiritually connected to in a beyond human way, right? One of the things I love about mushroom practice and the circumstances that led us to structure it and hold practice this way is that it's people from literally all over the globe at this point who are brought together spiritually, whose soul and their spirit said, it's time to do this now, here. And it wasn't arranged. It wasn't structured by academia, by other institutions. It was a heart thing. It was a spirit thing. It was a soul thing. And so there's a magic in that when you're brought together for that reason versus the reason we have historically been brought together in our lifetime. So when it comes to individuating, right now, we are kind of in the messy middle, my guide has shown me. So like all metamorphosis, like all transformation, think of the process of birth, humans, animals. It's always that process of moving from death into new life, the process of evolution, of transformation, of becoming. It's never clean. It's never without mess, right? And so we as humans in our current incarnation are in that messy middle where we are becoming something else. We are differentiating into something else. And knowing that, it has enabled me to really hold my practice in a very different way than I did prior to having an understanding and being shown in an embodied way what is coming ahead. So I want to share some of those things that she has shared with me. So lots and lots of us, and I totally resonate with this, is we have been raised with the mindset of we have to save the day. We have to save the planet. We have to save the people. We have to save the whales and the animals, and don't let anybody use styrofoam. Right? And I get it. I totally get that. But what I have been shown is that we are at the very end of humans as we are. We have been in this Holocene period that really we have been presented with paradise on Earth. We really have. If you've lived in different times, then you know this has been a stretch of paradise on Earth. And as humans do, we've kind of let everybody else down here on the Earth. And so while we have hastened it, this would have happened eventually anyway. So I really hold my work less of we're running out of time and we must save the planet and everybody must heal through psychedelics, and more from the perspective of we are here as the bridge. We are here to pave the way for the future generations, to support them, to reset the energy of this earth, to make way for what is coming in after us. And it's a better brand. In many ways, what I have been shown is that what is coming in after us is what a lot of us humans now aspire to, which is a truly collective people, right? It's just, we are in this messy middle of differentiating of different types and flavors of human going forward. And we're really, really going to see that in the coming years. The differentiation, I'd really like to emphasize this. The differentiation is going to get stronger and stronger and stronger with people. And people being people who are especially used to a homogenous society, follow me, look like me, do like me, are going to freak out. I want you to hold this in the back of your mind, though, that as people are freaking out, this is really just differentiation taking shape in the way that it is going to evolve over time. You know, lately, especially, I noticed this uptick in what appeared just lots of self-focus, lots of increasingly loud focus and attention on oneself, selfishness, self-reference. And I took it to my guide and I said, what is going on with people? And she said, they're not being selfish, they're differentiating. I said, okay, okay. And it's much easier to have compassion from that perspective if you kind of zoom out and think of all the kind of seeming acting out and overcorrecting we see of people needing to be seen, needing to be different, you know, needing to claim their own identity, needing to claim their own gender, needing to claim difference. And so it's not really about a reaction against something. It's the natural evolutionary process of where we're heading as differentiated, individuated beings is what's happening. So hold that. It's helpful in this moment. It really, really is. So how does this mean we're not going to be just utterly selfish, self-absorbed beings? I have seen in my practice, I've worked with thousands and thousands and thousands of humans in my life. And I have found that those who are the best partners, the best relationshipers, relational beings, whether it is personally or professionally, it is those people who are in their bliss. They are here, they know who they are, they know what they're here to do, and they're doing it. And they are in alignment in every area of their lives. They are aligned, they are true, they have no manipulation in their lives. Those are the people who on its face might go, oh, well, they're selfish. But in reality, they are able to be fantastic partners because of that quality. When you are fulfilled within yourself, when you are self-actualized within yourself, you can bring yourself to the world with your totality. You don't need anything. You're not leveraging people. You're not doing things for transaction. You can bring a sense of yourself of wholeness and completion with other people who are also doing that. We don't have a lot of people who are doing that and modeling right now, again, because we're just at this new baby beginning where we are kind of busting out of how to do, being told what to do about everything, right? That's why we see so many so many things we took for granted falling apart right now. Like so many institutions are coming apart, or we're seeing behind the curtain and finding out there was nothing ever there, right? Or things that we thought, or institutions that we trusted. We trusted the medical complex, we trusted the science, we trusted the institutions, we trusted the government. And then now that's why we see so much of the behind the scenes coming out to pretty much obliterate a lot of what we thought was true. This is all happening right now for a reason, because it's when we don't have anything left that we can trust, we need to learn to trust ourselves again. That's what's happening right now. So I have seen, just with medicine practice is always pointing us to our highest potential. And until we get our act together and get in line and live that out, the universe conspires to get us on that path, and we can step onto it, or we can kind of go kicking and screaming onto it with a lot of resistance. But this is the collective forces right now of the future are really, really now picking up steam. And we're really going to see in the next few years, really in a quantum way, more and more changes taking place that really differentiate us as humans. And it's not a bad thing. It's really actually a deeply empowering thing. Some other things she has shown me that I want to share with you is reframing how we view neurodivergency. Neurodivergency, especially if you are in the healing fields at all, it's frequently talked about. I constantly hear people saying they or a family member were diagnosed with a neurodivergency. Neurodivergency, oftentimes when people realize they are neurodivergent, and this happens frequently once people tap into who they are and they're like, oh, I'm quite different than I've been living, right? And this is startling because there's been so much negative connotation to be neurodivergent, different than the norm, when actually to be neurodivergent is to be the future. So when I hear someone bring that to me, it's a gift. It is such a gift, and it's an opening to the future society where we are not trying to fit ourselves or accommodate into circumstances that don't align with us. Instead, we are creating a world and a society that we fit into as an individuated person. So I love this. I think it's an opportunity for a lot of people who are different, and more people are going to discover that they are different, is to totally change the way you're living to accommodate you and stop trying to accommodate a toxic normal. Right? That's what it's all about. And I think we're going to see more and more and more neurodivergencies. And humans, again, we're going to see a lot of resistance, a lot of freaking out, a lot of attempts to medicate what is evolution, right? We humans, we just resist change so much rather than embracing nature and being curious about nature. And oftentimes what nature is doing is to our greatest end and our highest potential, yet we fight it on so many levels. It's fascinating to be human on the planet right now. So when you see this in your own life, and you will, especially if you are in a job where you see a lot of people, particularly if you work with a lot of young people, I encourage you and invite you to view neurodivergency just as a natural evolution and a giftedness that is pointing us toward the future in a really beautiful way. So another question I have received is, what does this mean to relationships and relating, right? If we're such highly individuated, differentiated people, how do we partner in the future? How do we collaborate? How do we have relationships, friendships, marriages? How is that all going to change? It's going to be more truthful, I believe. I think as we move forward and we further differentiate and become the humans we're becoming, we are not going to be able to be in relationships that aren't aligned. Again, similar to, as I shared earlier, a lot of our relationships, partnerships, collaborations are based on the tribalistic mentality. We do business with people who look like us. We hang out with people who look like us. We associate, marry, and trust and go into financial bargains with people who are like us and part of the same club. Right? That is going to change when we don't identify as homogenous groups within an entity or an organization. We, in the future, are going to be much more soul-led, much more heart-led, spirit-led, intuitive-led, and we're going to choose relationships and connections that are truly aligned for our unique energy. We are going to meet people who sync with us and match with us energetically. I don't know about you, but I feel like many of you will relate to this. I have really, really noticed, especially in the last few months, an increasing sensitivity to other people's energy. And it's been pretty remarkable. And I can feel people's energy and instantly want to be near them. Or I feel people's energy and I instantly feel, not that they're bad people, but I feel more of a repelling nature of, I can associate with these people, but I wouldn't ever want to get into a deep connected bond with them. And it's been interesting because a lot of people, like on its face with their associations and their academic institutes, you would think that would sync, but it's not. It's increasingly based on energetic and spiritual connection versus institutional and mental academic connection in the future. So I found myself increasingly sensitive to other people's energy. And I've also had a complete inability to connect with people who have any kind of inauthenticity, deception, manipulative, or outright lying energy. It's become a complete non-starter in a really strong way, where I'm really, really sensitive to the fact now that everything is energy. And I think having my guide so prominent in my ear so much of the time this year, for the first time more than ever, I really see through her perspective more and more. Thank you. And I can see from a spiritual perspective, from their perspective, everything is connected. Everything. There's no separation in anything we do. Everything we do when we're alone and no one's watching us is exactly the same as when we are speaking to a crowd of thousands of people. It's exactly the same from the spirit world. So if we are living lives that are based on institutions and compartmentalization, where we go to work and we're this person, and we hang out with this friend and we're this person, or we're talking to this group of people and we're that people, we're not living authentic, aligned lives. And as we go forward, as we evolve, that is going to get increasingly uncomfortable to the point where we are not able to fake it anymore, nor are we able to, once we do come into alignment and coherence, we're not going to be able to fake it and be in relationship anymore with those who are. It's just going to be an instant, ineffable no that you know in your soul and in your body that you can't connect or form relationship with this person. So knowing that, we have to get out of the mentality of this compartmentalization that we do as human beings, because it doesn't actually exist. So a lot of times when things are happening to us, you need to remember, like, everything that is happening to us is happening all the time. And every output, every generosity, everything we put creative effort and production we put out into the world in one way is going to come back to us, not necessarily from the thing we have given it to, but Spirit sees all. Spirit sees all. Spirit sees all the effort you're making. Spirit sees all of the energy you're putting into walking your medicine path and trying and learning and growing and healing. Even when you think, like, I don't know if this is doing anything and I don't think this is working, Spirit sees all and knows that there is nothing that you can do that's not connected to something else. So that is something that's really, really beautiful. And I think it's going to be a really hard edge for a lot of people as we move into this greater alignment, but it's going to be beautiful, beautiful on the other side when you are there and you are fully in yourself, in your body, in your own skin, feeling very confident and ready to be of humble service to this world from a place of wholeness and not needing to be compartmentalized versions of yourself all the time. How do we handle so much polarization and divisiveness? So when I have taken this question to my guide, she has shared with me and shown me that we are so many levels of souls on the earth right now. And we have never had such a breadth of old souls who have incarnated many, 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 many times with a lot of new souls. And we were all on this arc together. And again, because of our institutional connections, a lot of times we are with people who are at a different level of soul maturity than we are. And there's no right or wrong. There's no good or bad. There's no better than or less than. Again, it's indicative of this change that's going to occur where we're going to find ourselves drawn to practices and rituals and lifestyles and geographies where we are just drawn to them. And then we find our tribe there. And again, I see this so often in our microdosing programs and community, and it's quite crazy how fast it can happen sometimes, is something lights up in people and they're like, I have to move, or I have to let go of this job, or I have to let go of this relationship. And it's first you have to create the space to do it, and then let your intuition guide you toward where you are meant to be and where you are aligned. We're going to be led by our hearts, our souls, our spirits, not necessarily by a job or a relationship or these, conventional muggle world reasons of why we do things we do, because less and less and less of our drive going forward is going to be about material accumulation, gaining and hoarding as much resources as possible. As we evolve as people, it's going to be communion that is driving us. It's going to be sharing. It's going to be collectivism. It's going to be, again, it first takes you knowing yourself and being so confident and self-actualized within yourself that it will enable you to be truly collective. So my best advice for dealing with the noise, and the polarization is just know that increasingly like-minded kindred spirits are going to be with like-minded kindred spirits. I think about my life sometimes, and I don't watch television, cable television, and I don't watch mainstream news, and I don't engage in trying to prove my point or justify what I do. I don't get into these contentious, higher, lower, right, wrong conflicts, and so I don't operate in those groups, right? And so I encourage you to invite yourself to step out of those situations. Like when you are in those situations, you can choose not to entangle your energy with people who are still there, right? Like you wouldn't get angry if you were with a little kid and they weren't using like full, complete sentences yet. You wouldn't get angry at them because they couldn't use full and complete sentences yet. You would just acknowledge like they're not old enough. They're just not there yet. So again, it's not a looking down on it. It's just, they're just young. There's a lot of young souls on the planet right now. And all you can do, I think, is embody the future and lead your life in a way that embodies the best of what humans can be and are becoming. What can you do to help? I'll close with this. So a lot of times people ask, like, what can we work with? What can we focus on? What can we meditate on to help us hold on to this greater perspective? I think developing our spirituality is going to become so vital to our lives in a way that we haven't experienced in our lifetime. And by spirituality, I do not mean organized religion. Organized religion is very much part of the archaic dying paradigm of institutionalization. By spirituality, I mean sovereign connection to source. Whoever is your God, however your God appears, however you connect with your own innate spirituality within yourself, external to yourself, I think developing that connection is one of the most incredibly supportive practices you can do right now. It will center you, it will ground you, and it will connect you to a greater perspective. As you connect with your angels and your guides, I know as my guide has become more prominent in my life, it's a constant daily reminder to hold myself to a higher standard, which is really beautiful. And I appreciate it so much. So it really focuses, while it's a zoomed out perspective, it's also zeroes in on this lifetime, because you really become aware of what a gift it is to be in this body, in this moment where humanity is changing so quickly. And to be part of that is really special and really cool and really absurd and fascinating at the same time. And so it puts your life, focuses it to a point that is really, really beautiful, and that you learn to appreciate this greater perspective and dedicate your life to that. I can tell you firsthand, the things that I used to be concerned with or indulge in or worry about, it's all just been completely washed away with my guide's presence in my life, because I really have clarity on what is important and carrying each day with being of service and creating beauty as much as I can in each day. So I hope this for you as well. I'm so grateful for you being here and listening and being in our podcast audience. And also many of you listening, I know, are part of our microdosing community. So thank you for being here. And I really, really look forward to seeing all of you soon. Thanks so much. Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Microdosing for Healing podcast. Are you ready to take the next step? Please visit us at microdosingforhealing.com to access our free Microdosing 101 workshop. In it, you'll learn more about our diverse community, our supportive group programs, and discover if earth medicine practice might be right for you. See you in the next episode.